The American market is one of the most important for Australia's tourism industry. In 2020, this market is predicted to generate around $5 billion towards our economy. Figures from Tourism Australia's market profile for North America indicate over 500,000 arrivals, spending some 11.8 million total nights. Of these, 39% were spent outside of Australia's major cities. So there is no doubt that the USA is a good market for Australia, not to mention the Canadians. But how can a regional touring route gain better traction from this market and start to see a greater share of North Americans on these drives? The UK and Europe make up the top 5 markets for Sydney to Melbourne touring. Americans, however, are few and far between. Although the average length of stay in Australia for the American holiday segment is 17.9 nights, many Americans fit in a visit within their 2 weeks vacation time. During this time, they usually want to see the whole country. So it's hard to imagine they would even consider a 5 to 7 day drive between the capitals when they are so time poor. From a Sydney-Melbourne touring perspective, we ask the question, how can we develop a better return from the American market? We already have some great partnerships in place with many of the key wholesalers. And our coastal drive in particular is brochured in many wholesale programs. But the numbers just don't seem to reflect the interest compared to our visitors from the UK and Europe. In 2012, a discussion at ATE led to the consideration of a market segment that may have a higher propensity to not only self-drive in Australia, but spend the time to really experience it like our UK and European visitors. This segment was the retired and semi-retired RV owners and the snowbirds. That is, the Americans and Canadians who travel to the south in their recreational vehicles to escape and sit out those harsh American winters. So that planted the seed. Was this market viable? Do they travel outbound? Do they have a passport? What is their disposable income? This is where it got challenging. This research was not readily available. Although the big RV marketing and member-based organisations like Good Sam had data, it was not easily accessible, especially to the degree that we needed. Then in 2013, at one of the last appointments during Australian Travel Market in Los Angeles, Paul Watkins from About Australia saw the potential.
You know, it's something I've thought about a lot because there's approximately 16,000 baby boomers in North America retire, I think, every day. So there's a massive market there. But how do you find them? How do you get them in one central location? And we realised that there's a term in the United States called snowbirds. So a lot of the retirees from the northern states of the United States, they move south for literally 6 months of the year. And these are wealthy, independently wealthy people that really make the perfect demographic for what we're looking for. So the original idea of thinking of a way to try and find the exact target market for self-driving and for more touring in Australia. They've got the time, they've got the disposable income. Yeah, I was pretty inspired when we first started talking about it.
The next step was to partner up with other touring routes, and with the legendary Pacific Coast and Great Southern Touring Route. We had a partnership extending Sydney to Melbourne to a complete drive picture covering Brisbane all the way through to Adelaide.
I thought, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because, you know, people who have the resources to purchase, you know, these large RVs obviously have enough resources to travel the world. And those who are retired and are able to travel and spend months away from their sort of residence are also likely to have, you know, enough resources to travel to Australia.
Collaborating with other touring routes around the country where it made sense to do so, and it does make sense to do so when you're working internationally, made a lot of sense. And again, that was a message once articulated that, you know, pooling our resources to present self-driving in a market that really knew very little about self-driving in Australia, what was something that was readily accepted and adopted, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for it.
Paul Watkins and the About Australia team then took on the task of researching this market segment, and the data provided gave us the confidence to specifically target this segment through a roadshow in February 2015. Under the name Australia's Best Drives, a partnership between About Australia, the Great Southern Touring Route, the legendary Pacific Coast, and Sydney-Melbourne Touring was born.
This is the core market, the core demographic with a disposable income that have the ability to travel much further and wider and deeper in Australia. And the 3 touring routes that we've combined for this road trip and this presentation are absolutely perfect. They understand, they embrace the idea that they don't need to get from one spot to the other in a hurry. They are very happy to meander down the coastline, have pre-coordinated accommodation, and to actually really get into the true regional experiences, the small country towns, the small coastal towns, to actually visit all those sorts of places, and they're excited to engage with Australians in the holiday parks, the Big Fours and so on and so forth.
Australia's Best Drives visited 19 RV parks across Texas and Arizona, presenting to over 600 Americans and Canadians from the identified target market. Each day, the team set up in recreational halls, pre-booked and promoted through the RV parks, presenting each route's key experiences and destinations in an entertaining yet informative chat show format. Led by host Paul Watkins from About Australia, there was lots of Q&A interaction with the audience, who were, by and large, hungry for as much information as we could give them.
We've gone out on a limb with this, and it's certainly a risk to go out and do this outside of the fold of the traditional missions that are organised by the STOs, and they have great value, of course. But what we've seen, I think, the thing for me has really been that in Australia we really get or make some assumptions that we are or the market we're going after knows a lot about Australia. There are some really basic things that we have to step back and explain, like travel distance and how big the country is and our currency and what the interior, what the landscapes are like and what the populations of the cities.
So far, I think it's met or exceeded the expectations, and it's just talking to these people. I mean, their budgets are well in the area where they can do extended trips to Australia, and I think this is what we need to focus on, is getting people to go and do dedicated exclusive trips to Australia.
These parks are extremely well coordinated. Their schedules are planned 6-8 months in advance. So to actually be able to get them to slot in time for us to come and do a presentation was very challenging. I mean, it took us months to organise the route. And of course in Arizona, unfortunately, we're zipping and zagging across the state to try and meet all the different schedules that we had. But I'm completely convinced it's worth it. And we just did a presentation here right now. We had, I think, about 46 residents turn up to the presentation. All the absolutely perfect demographic. We asked them all if they wanted to go to Australia, and every single one of them put their hands up. They took the maps, the information, and they were basically sponges in learning and understanding about what we're offering as a service.
During the roadshow, my wife and I actually hired an RV from Road Bear. And we drove down to Texas from Denver, Colorado, and then from there up through New Mexico and into Arizona for the second part of the road trip. And I've got to say, it was a wonderful way to do it, because we really learnt how the Americans experience these long haul drives, and they've got these massive freeways and they just want to get there, so they get in the vehicle and they don't stop.
Getting out here and explaining those things repeatedly and reinforcing them is really important, but off the back of that, having the opportunity to then present an experience that perhaps that this market is predisposed to enjoying. The fact that we're coming to RV parks suggests that.
The Aussie accents and some great imagery and a well-organised program, and these people are ready to hand over a check. I mean, we're not sort of fly-by-nighters. We're serious about this. We come in, we've worked hard, and I think there's some great opportunities for the future for the touring routes and for all of Australia, really.
And I think the whole team, Russell and Mike and Paul, really got those points across about just how great a destination Australia is to actually self-drive.
We're not forcing them to travel because they've already got it in their DNA. So all we have to do is make it more attractive, show the benefits, and give them a good reason to go. And I think we're doing that. I think these people are not hard sell. A lot of them are just basically waiting to get on the phone, talk to someone, be guided through it. And I think Paul's operation will do that very, very well.
The Palm Creek RV Resort was built in 1998, and we have over 2,000 spaces. We have spaces for RVs. People can rent village homes or they can purchase homes here.
And you've also got an amazing golf course.
We have an 18-hole par 3 golf course that's walking. We have 24 pickleball courts, tennis courts, lawn bowling, much more.
And you were telling me before about how many activities you actually have organised, planned for every day.
Yes, during high season, any given week, we have over 165 activities, from making jewelry to playing tennis to lawn bowling to pottery.
You have a minimum age that you have to be in the park?
Yes, it's plus 55 communities, but for the village homes that are rentals, we can go down to age 45.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you sat in on our presentation for Australia.
Correct.
What did you think?
It was awesome. Makes me want to go to Australia.
Perfect. And we had a pretty good attendance, I think. How many people did we have turn up? Does anybody know?
75.
75 people attended the presentation, which is actually the capacity
Very
of the room.
good, very good.
So yeah, very, very good. And if you had to talk a little bit about the demographics of the people that stay in your park, what would you think?
I would think the demographics of our park are the more affluent Americans and Canadians.
Okay. And how long do people stay in your park for?
Most of them stay, I would say, between November through March.
Fantastic. Yeah, very good, very good. All right, well, look, and you have a monthly publication you put out as well.
Correct.
And we advertise in there. What other things did you do to help promote the event?
Well, we put it in the Ad Corner, which is a monthly publication with ads, and then we also have a newsletter that lists all the events going in our resort during the month. We did a sandwich board for you, and we had a sign-up sheet in the activities office.
I'm really proud of the fact that 3 touring routes covering 4 states have got together with a travel distributor in an important market. We've done it on our own initiative, but the expertise and the experience that we have in this group that've been travelling is, it's second to none. We all know our jobs very well, and we're going out there and opening up new distribution channels and measuring what we do. So, if we can get some support to continue to do this, I think we should continue to do it.